I have brought a few familiar faces as well as some new ones. We're going to go into all the new stuff that's coming out tonight. Season 6 launches on all platforms, as well as go into some details of some of the bigger changes that are happening in our patch notes. Now, if you haven't been following along, we've released a bunch of new trailers to set up Season 6. We've got our lore trailer, our CG launch trailer, as well as our gameplay trailer and vignette trailers are live. So if you haven't watched those yet, introducing a lot of the new stuff that's coming to Apex Legends in Season 6 and our new legend Rampart, who we'll be talking about more shortly. Go ahead and watch those. And patch notes are live today too, so you can go ahead and pull those up as we talk about those later. So there's a lot to cover in this episode. So first off, let me introduce our great group of people that we have here. We've got Jason McCord, our design director, our regular here on the Devstreams. Thank you for being with us, sir. Manny Hadopian, our writer. This is very exciting. He'll be talking more about Rampart, who is, congratulations, your 10th legend, I believe you have written for in Apex, which is...
Yeah, number 10, lucky 10.
Lucky 10, incredible. David Bocek, one of our designers and our man behind the weapons and all the cool balance stuff and meta stuff that we're going to be talking about, and talking more about the Vault coming into Season 6. And Mark, our systems designer, our first appearance. Mark has been doing a lot of great work on Apex. Many of the limited time modes you guys have been playing have been driven by Mark. And Mark is also our man behind crafting. So we'll be talking more about crafting that's getting introduced in Season 6. So let's get right into it. First off, Manny, give us a little bit of a breakdown and background of Rampart and Sheila, our new legend that is.
So Rampart is one of those like blue collar small business owners. She's like a modder who kind of made her name in the underground gauntlets throughout the Outlands. She's competed in those gauntlets. She has won matches. She's never been interested really in the games themselves, until her shop got, unfortunately, taken out. And a person who's been keeping an eye on her, which is our old friend Blisk, shows up. And as you had seen in the lore video, gave our first legend the golden ticket, the Apex card, which fans may have recognized from past the opening cinematic with Blisk, or even from Titanfall 2. So it's been pretty great to see this new character kind of get this golden ticket, this free pass to join the games. And I'm really excited for fans to be introduced to this sort of comedic character, a bit of a counterpart to Mirage. She's quick-witted, she's smart, she's been on the streets for a long time, building weapons, modding weapons. And one of the main weapons that she loves is her little minigun, Sheila. She calls it Sheila. She doesn't go anywhere without Sheila. It's like her best friend. So, yeah.
Very, very cool. And then
I love her dialogue. Speaking to what Manny was just talking about, her attitude stands out in the roster. She's, I don't say she's disrespectful. She's like talking to Manny a lot of times. It's the same kind of vibe I get.
Yeah. Is that what I give you? I always thought of her as, if someone goes up to one of our legends in a bar, everyone has like a different response when they're like, let's go, let's fight. You want to take this outside? And some people are like, depending on how they act, they're like trying to, calm down the situation. But Rampart is the one who's like, yeah, let's go outside. Should I bring the guns? Should you bring the guns? Should we both bring the guns? Hey, I got this really great gun. You should come to my shop. We'll fight over there. That sort of attitude is what she's all about. She's ready to go. You can't take her out. And she's likable. She's friendly. This is one of the first legends joining our roster who all the legends actually are cool with her. Revenant had a bit of like, who's this guy? He took out Forge. We love Forge. Loba took out half of the Thunderdome in Skulltown, and everyone's like not quite sure about her. Crypto snuck in, but now we got Rampart, and everyone's like, that's our girl. We love her.
So like looking at like sort of the breakdown of her kit, essentially, could you break down kind of like passive, tactical to ultimate, sort of like how those three break down specifically for her?
Yeah, so her passive is the modded loader, which is, it's the first time we've done anything like this where we basically, her passive makes her usage of LMGs better. You definitely get encouraged to pick up LMGs as her. And then her tactical is to drop down an amped wall. So it actually builds up a solid piece of cover, and while it's building, it's a lot more delicate, so it can be shot really and taken down really easily. But once it's built, it has a pretty good amount of health. And it's a nice little solid piece of cover. And then slowly an amp shield rises out of the top of it. And it also blocks, but it can be destroyed. And I mean, the wall can be destroyed too, but the amped part can be destroyed separately. And when you shoot through it from the side that it's built on, it amps bullets. So she really gets a lot of benefit by getting to a spot early, setting up her walls. She can set up a bunch of them, and then, kind of overwatching this position and just raining down fire. And then whenever you really feel like you have the really good position on somebody, you drop Sheila down. She, the walls amp Sheila's bullets as well, so that her abilities kind of stack on top of each other there. And anybody can get on the turret. It's not just for her. You drop it, and a friendly can get on it. I mean, an enemy, and then enemies can take her position and suddenly have this defensive position as well. So it's sort of fun to see a nice, well-positioned Rampart figure out how to flank, get up in there, flush them out, and now it's your spot and it's your gun, even if you don't have a Rampart with you.
I'm really excited to see how she plays with coordinated squad, especially in in-game, where you're trying to lock down kind of that final circle spot.
Yeah.
And proactive and anticipating kind of where that final standoff is going to be and keeping yourself to the advantage. Another piece we have coming is, for fans who have been following Apex closely, probably one of the first data mined things we had all the way back a while ago, and that's the Vault SMG. Titanfall fans will remember this gun from the Titanfall games. It's a really fun energy weapon. Mr. Bocek, can you give us a breakdown kind of quickly of like how this gun works and how it fits into the rest of the sort of loot pool?
Yeah, for sure. So like you said, it's the first energy ammo SMG introduced into Apex. It's got a pretty moderate fire rate. It's not quite as fast as something like the R99 or the RE45, but it being energy ammo gives it sort of a unique feel in terms of the loot game. You're going to have to be arguing with your teammates who are trying to run an L-Star or a Devotion even, like how much energy ammo is each person going to carry. Because it's an energy ammo weapon, it's going to carry energy mags, and it's also going to have, its projectiles are a little bit faster and have less drag and a little less gravity, and the Volt has some pretty decently controllable recoil as well, so it's going to be usable at a little bit further range than typical SMGs. So hopefully players like it. I think it's really cool. I think it's a lot of fun to shoot.
The other big change we have coming, it wouldn't be a new season without a map change. This one is like stunning. One of, I think, the coolest set pieces we've done on the maps. McCord, walk us through kind of this new map update with this giant rocket. That's World's Edge.
Hammond's back. They're up to something. They really like building stuff in this part of the world. They've got the big rocket. That's sort of that's the first thing you'll probably see, right, in the dropship when you're flying into World's Edge this season. I know Drill Sight's a big drop. Well, a lot of people's favorite drops. It's kind of in a really good spot, and now it's a completely new look and a new layout and a new theme and everything. So one thing that I'm really excited about for this map update is all the new rotation options. Alex Grainer, the level designer, same guy that gave us Octane Town, Wraith Labs, Mirage Voyage. Yeah, so he did this map update, and one of the things he came to the design team right away was he wanted to add a lot more rotation options to World's Edge. And so there's, the rocket sits over the lava fields in the map, which don't have a lot over there besides the dome, so there's a lot of room to add some new play over there. And then the rotations out of there have been, there's one added to the tree. So now if you land in a tree, you got a new place to go to. One that's really exciting is over by Survey Camp and Skyhook. There's now a cut through that goes through the mountain, because I think a lot of people have experienced that game where you're in Skyhook and you need to get over towards Epicenter and you got to do that big loop around or go through the train tunnel, and both of those are kind of painful. So now there's this nice cut through there that I think will be very appreciated. And then another interesting change that we did was the train has been shut down. And while that kind of seems like, oh, that's a bummer, what that actually gives us is the ability to use the train tracks as play space, which in the last few seasons of World's Edge is these really intense choke points around the train tunnels, because there's not really that much cover that you could put in there, because we have to have this room for the train to move through. So when we were trying to tackle that problem, we really wanted to kind of make moving through these choke points a little more fun. So we started dropping cover in there, and it's making it easier to move through the map.
Yeah, McCord wrote up a really great blog with some visuals that show before and after and breakdowns of the points of interest and rotational elements. That's live on playapex.com. So it's a great breakdown before we get in there and we're all playing tomorrow. Another big change that's coming this season, we've been working on this for a while. This is crazy to have in a live game. We're introducing crafting into Apex, which is really cool, which, Mark, you have been the man behind a lot of the work that's been done there. Now, you also have a blog that's live, which is a nice breakdown of crafting and how that works. Could you summarize that for us of sort of like what your goals are and what it's going to feel like for players when they're playing?
Yeah, I'm surprised this one hasn't leaked yet in the amount of time that we've been working on it.
Yeah.
So basically, in a battle royale, when you're talking about loot progression in the loot game, generally the best way to get the best loot in the game is to go around, play aggressively, and kill other players. Because over the course of the game, all of the good loot from high-tier POIs gets concentrated in player inventories, and then once they're dead, it becomes concentrated in their death boxes. So this really pushes an aggressive style of play, and we wanted to build something in Apex that really encourages other, more diverse play styles to come in, things that reinforce exploration and traversal. For perhaps the players that don't always play as Rambo, the more passive ones amongst us, like me. So crafting is a system that's there to reinforce exploration. It's there to reinforce our loot curve. And the way crafting works is there are specific POIs around the map that have materials that you can pick up. And these materials are stored on your player. They're not part of your inventory, so they don't take up space in your backpack. And if you die, you keep them. So if you're respawned by your teammates, you come back with any crafting materials that you've collected. And you can go from point to point collecting these materials. You can take them to these things called replicators, which are basically 3D printers for loot. And depending on how many crafting materials you have, you can take them and use them to redeem the loot that we have on rotation within the replicators. These could be things like equipment, they could be weapons, they could also be items that are pretty essential in a BR game, such as a med kit or ammo. So some of our items are on a weekly rotation, some of our items are on a daily rotation. Obviously, building a giant menu where you can craft every single piece of loot in the game isn't really feasible because it's hard to parse as a player, and it's also difficult to do as a developer. So we created this rotation system where we would group loot items into categories, and those categories would rotate. So things that we have on a weekly rotation are things like helmets, knockdown shields, backpacks, mobile respawn beacons. And things that we have on daily rotations are weapons and attachments that we've chosen specifically to match the weapons that we have on a daily rotation. So on one day you might have an R301 on rotation with an anvil receiver and a 1-2x variable scope. On another day you might have the EVA. You might have an EVA on rotation with a double tap and a close quarters threat scope. And we try to pick these attachments to not only match the weapons that we have on daily rotation, but to also mesh well with other weapons that we have in the game. So, maybe I don't want an EVA, but I'm a really big fan of the G7 and the double tap is there. So I'm excited to engage with the system and craft something out of it, even though all of the things on rotation aren't necessarily things that I want. And then finally, when it comes to rotations, anything that's on rotation during that day is not going to be spawning in the ground loot. So if a gun is on rotation and you want to play that gun, you have to engage with the crafting system in order to get it.
If you followed the Devstreams, you remember season 5. We didn't have a weapon in season 5, and you remember me saying that we kind of thought the loot pool was starting to get a little dense, especially for weapons, and we didn't think that we needed one at the time, and that we were working on a solve, and Mark had the solve. So now we've got weapons. There's one weapon every game that can only be found in the crafting pool, and that sort of lets the Volt come in cleanly and take up the place of a spot so there's not an extra weapon on the ground.
Very cool. And crafting actually is going to play into another big thing that we are changing within the meta for season 6, and that's how armor is going to work. So McCord, you want to give us a breakdown of the armor changes that are going to be in season 6 across all modes?
I am so excited about this. This is such a big change to the whole game. Drum roll, all armor in the game is Evo armor. Everything you find on the ground is an Evo armor. Now, you fly into the map with a level 0 Evo armor on you. What this means is you can land, you can find a gun right away, you can start to get in a fight, you do 50 damage, your armor will level up automatically, and now you'll have a white armor. We think this will really help with sort of loot availability in the early game. And then if you find purple right away, you know, sometimes right off the drop, you find a purple just right there, right? You'll see it, it'll be a glowing Evo armor. You pick it up, you can swap it right out, and now you have a purple Evo armor. You can continue leveling it up to red. Or if you find a blue, you know, you'll keep leveling it up. And just as a couple clarifications there, gold is still on the map, still in the same rare sort of availability that it's always been. And there's no reds in the ground loot. So you can only get to red through Evo, through doing damage. So what's really exciting about this change is that we've now given you 3 different ways to get to good armor through all the different systems. So now you can land, you can get a weapon, you can start doing damage. You get in a really big fight without even having the chance to loot an armor, and suddenly you have blue armor because you've just done some damage. You just use some shield cells, heal it up, and you're good. You can still run into armor through the RNG, find some armor on the ground, get upgrades that way. And with crafting, you can land, you can do a bunch of damage, you can level up to blue, you can still have another 100 damage points to get to purple. Go and let's say you just finished the fight, you've won the POI. You've got the little crafting materials here. You can walk up to the crafting station. You can craft that last 100 damage to your Evo, and you can walk out of there with purple. So all these systems together really give people a lot of options. Sort of adding on to that, we want to make sure that at the end of the game, not everybody is very easily red, right? If our current tuning, if everyone started with Evo armor, they would all be red by the end of the game. So we've tuned it all down, and the numbers are in the patch notes, so you can look that up. One more change that's pretty significant is that all the armor has come down 25 health. So this is changing pretty much the time to kill of the whole game. So white armor is still 25 health, then blue armor is 50 health. Then instead of purple going up to 100 health, it goes up to 75. And red goes up to 100. Max health in the game is back to 200 health. Purple armor is 175. All these changes, we think they all play really importantly together to make sure that the game is balanced and exciting. Can't wait.
Another thing we got for season 6 is, you know, we're doing daily treasure packs and some cool new ways that we're doing storytelling, like we saw with quests in season 5. So we've made some changes there and just sort of like how this will work for players. So McCoy, can you kind of like break down for us how like these treasure packs and the quests are going to work for season 6?
Yeah. So the treasure pack system is pretty much the same. Yeah, so you get one max. You still get one max every day. You take it back to the lobby. You get your reward track, and instead of telling a story through text, now we've transitioned all of that storytelling into full color comic pages drawn by the artists at Dark Horse, written by Manny's team. It really gives us a more visual way to tell the story, and it makes the story a lot more richer. You know, you're not trying to imagine what the bar might look like or what the characters are doing on screen. It's awesome art. We really wanted to double down on telling a story with quests. That was sort of always the goal. And what you're going to notice is that there are no PvE missions this season. And just to touch on that a little bit, you know, I was trying to be pretty clear about that in season 5, how the PvE missions they were an experiment. We kind of used what we had with the Prowlers to put in some new content to help tell a story. The quest has always been about a way to tell a story. So we wanted to make sure that we put our effort into all the things that really mattered this season. I think we're telling a better story with the storytelling is stronger, and some of the gameplay stuff kind of went into the other content for the rest of the season.
An opportunity to actually see the world outside of the games was always something we wanted to touch on, and we got to do that a little bit with the quests of the chapters, but with just text, you didn't really get the chance to see that. So now you're going to be able to see that. I mean, and Tom Castiello, who is a master at hitting those cliffhangers, I mean, every week you're going to get something that's going to keep pulling you in, and it's going to be really cool to see our fans react to this upcoming story and the visuals and the places that we've only imagined will actually be on page.
Season 6, which means a new battle pass. It'll operate the same way it has in the other seasons. Cost is the same, a lot of the same cosmetics. Man, our art team and animators, like, the new banners, the new skydive emotes.
The theme is so good.
Oh my good. The music theme is incredible. The weapon skins are great. The chase item being this reactive G7 skin that is just beautiful, beautiful work by everybody. But we are introducing one new cosmetic, which is a lot of fun. We'll show you a few of them here, and that is hollow sprays, a way that you can basically kind of flex a little bit in the game. And these are a lot of really fun, creative things that match a lot of the personality and sort of tone for each of the legends really well. So that will be a new cosmetic that you're introducing on this track. There's more stuff we're going to talk about with Season 6. Like I said, there are some other big meta changes to the game, even more than the crafting and armor changes of stuff we've been working on for a while with Legends and weapons. And so in our next segment, David Bocek is going to join me with one of our designers, Daniel Klein, to go into more detail about what you guys can expect with the meta changes when this goes live tonight. My friends, thank you so much for joining me in our busy schedules.
Always a good time.
Guys. Everybody stay tuned for our next segment. We go into the patch notes. All right, so here I am with another couple of our designers. Well, Bocek, you were with us in our last segment and through the magic of editing. Here you are again. And joining us is Mr. Daniel Klein for the first time on our dev streams. Daniel's been with us for a while now as a designer, working primarily on the Legends in the game, both in the live game and future stuff that'll be coming out down the road. So, Daniel, let's kick it off with you, my friend. What are some of the there's some big changes that are coming to Legends, and we've been working on this stuff for a while, so it's really exciting to see this come to life in Season 6. So could you walk us through some of the bigger changes? And then for those of you watching at home, patch notes are live on playapex.com. So if you want to pull those up right now and have those, and you can read along with us as we talk through it. But Daniel, talk to us a little about Legends.
Yeah, so patch 6.0, as far as Legends is concerned, is going to be the patch of the Recon class. If you need a quick reminder, the Recon champions currently in the game are Pathfinder, Crypto, and Bloodhound. So the first thing we're doing is we're taking Pathfinder's passive, which is he can walk up to a survey beacon and get the location of the next ring, and we're turning it into what we call a class passive. That is to say, a passive that is available to every legend of that class. So to make up for that, we give the robot a little something. Specifically, we're making it so that every time that Pathfinder uses the survey beacon, the maximum cooldown of his ultimate is reduced by 10 seconds. So theoretically, this is very theoretical, if you did it for each one of the 6 circles, you could go down to a 1-minute cooldown on your ultimate, the zipline gun. Next up, Crypto. Crypto is a very interesting Recon legend because both his strengths and his weaknesses are so sharp. The thing we're doing for Crypto is we're giving his drone a lot more utility. Specifically, the drone will be able to use both survey beacon and respawn beacon without a use time. So you just fly up, press the button, and you're done. Additionally, we do like it when enemies spend some time shooting at the drone. So what we're doing is we're doubling the hit points of the drone, but making the drone slightly easier to hit. Remember, the time that enemies spend shooting at your drone is time they don't spend shooting at your teammates. And finally, this is the one I'm most excited about, Bloodhound. During Bloodhound's ultimate, their tactical will have a 6-second cooldown and half the use time. So by use time, we mean the total amount of time during which you cannot shoot, heal, or reload. So that'll be much, much shorter. This means that during their ultimate, they'll be able to scan over and over and over. Additionally, for a few patches now, they've had a mechanic in the ultimate where if they get a knockdown or a kill, the duration of the ultimate will be extended. We fiddled with that a little bit more. We're making it so that if you are at very, very low remaining duration at 10 seconds or below, you're basically going to be set back to about 15 seconds of remaining duration. So get a couple of knockdowns and stay in that super scan mode forever. Those are just the highlights of the Recon changes. Like Jay mentioned, you can go on playapex.com and read all the other small changes.
Very cool stuff. And I think it'll take me as a Bloodhound player. It'll be interesting to kind of like add that to my rotations and into my sort of thought process of like, oh, I can go like use the beacons now to sort of like find the next area on the map. So it'll be interesting to see how other players use that addition to it.
It's going to be a little bit more interesting for Bloodhounds because you'll have to do some climbing to get to them.
Yep.
For Crypto, it's even easier because he just flies his drone right up to them and gets the ring.
Bocek, you've been very busy as well, my friend. So in the previous segment, we talked about the Vault coming in and that kind of being another energy weapon. So energy mags come back. So there's a lot going on with energy weapons this time around. So can you talk a little bit about some of the bigger meta changes that we can expect now with weapons in Season 6?
Yeah, absolutely. So As you said, the Volt is coming in. That's a new energy SMG. In addition, we're doing some supply drop changes. So some of the weapons that are in the supply drop are going to be coming into the normal pool, or one of the weapons. So specifically, the Devotion, which has been in the supply drop for a couple seasons now, is going to come into the regular loot pool again. That sort of fits well with the energy weapon, additions to this season, and it also works well with Rampart, who has the LMG affinity. So it adds another LMG into the pool, which works well with her. To replace the Devotion going into the supply drop is the R99. And this is sort of a crazy one, but the R99 has been such a strong weapon for a long time, and also moving the R99 into the care package is going to give the Volt a little more room to breathe and a little more room to sort of be unique in the SMG space. I'm interested to see what happens when one of the primary SMGs is energy ammo instead of light ammo. There's a lot of play between light ammo weapons and light ammo attachments and stuff, so I'm interested to see how that loot game changes up. It'll also be interesting to see an SMG like the R99 in the supply drop. Along with that, the R99 is getting a damage buff and magazine increase and such. We're adjusting the values on those weapons accordingly to adjust their power. One thing, so now that we have the Devotion out of the supply drop into the regular loot pool, we have the Volt, the Devotion, the L-Star, and the Havoc. So we have 4 energy weapons on the ground this season. And that gives us a good reason to bring the energy mags back. So energy mags will drop on the ground again. The magazine counts of the weapons, except for the L-Star, which doesn't have a magazine, have been adjusted accordingly. You'll find energy mags on the ground again. Another thing that we're doing along with this is to reduce the energy ammo brick size from 30 back to 20. We increased it from 20 to 30 when we only had 2 energy weapons on the ground, because a lot of the energy ammo bricks you find in the world are the ones that spawn next to weapons. So with more weapons spawning, you should see more energy bricks on the ground, and that means we're reducing the stack size back down. Furthermore, with the Devotion coming back into the regular loot pool, this is a good opportunity to bring the turbocharger back. So the turbocharger hop-up is coming back. That'll be attached to the Havoc and the Devotion again. So the Havoc will take 2 hop-ups, the Devotion will take the turbocharger. Now, as we bring a hop-up back into the loot pool, we tend to want to vault a hop-up at the same time from the loot pool, so we don't have too many on the ground. So right now, the choke is only equippable by the triple take, since the Peacekeeper has it naturally in the supply drop. So we are removing the choke loot from the ground, but we're not removing the choke. We're just removing the little hop-up piece that you find on the ground. The choke is going to be integrated into the triple take and the Peacekeeper. So whenever you find a triple take, it's going to have the choke on it. Now, some people don't want to use the choke all the time or don't want to use the choke at all, so we've added the ability to toggle the choke. So if you press fire select, you'll turn the choke functionality on and off on both the Peacekeeper and the triple take. In addition to all the other changes that you can find on the patch notes and Play Apex, those are sort of the major weapons changes we're looking at for this season.
Really exciting. There are some additional changes that are in there, and we appreciate both of you guys writing some really nice designer notes that give some context to the changes that are in the patch notes. Again, those are live right now, so if you're not looking at them already, you can go ahead and check out to read the rest of the changes that'll be coming tonight when Season 6 goes live. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me in our busy, crazy work from home schedules. Super excited for tonight. And please, whether it's Reddit, forums, Twitter, whatever it is that you like to go talk, please leave us your feedback as you guys are playing this season. We're going to be looking forward to see what you guys think. And we'll see you next month on the next Devstream. Have fun.